Hey guys, it's Gav here, and I just thought I'd do a quick live stream. I'm not moving very fast here at the studio today, and I thought, okay, I'm going to take a little break and just go live and chat a little bit about stepping in, right? Because I think we've all thought about this in terms of how and when you intervene. Hey guys, I see you all in there. Good to see you. I'm doing okay. I'm actually not feeling good at all today. I'm feeling pretty ill today, but I'll be all right. And I just thought I'd take a little break and go live a little bit. I need a break. I need a break. I need to go do some paragliding, and I'm gonna try and get that the end of the month. I'm working on some new products here in the studio, and the world is crazy, and so it helps. It weakens my immune system, I think, when I got stuff going on. But when do you intervene, right? When do you intervene? You know, a couple videos you guys may or may not have seen, and shout out if you saw these videos. One of them was taken earlier this year. It's probably my most viral video of the year, and it's when I stopped and the cop was abusing the mental patient. And I kind of ran up there and I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Why'd you just throw that guy on the ground? And the cop was very hostile, very aggressive, and very threatening, and yet I got in real close. I never touched him, and he backed off. It changed the behavioral psychology of what was going on there. I think most of us have watched a video, right? Most of us have watched a video of police abusing someone and thought, well, I would step in, or what would I do in that situation? And I thought we'd raise that a little bit, because in my experience, if people step up, you'll see a few videos out there of crowds of people. The police are abusing someone, and you see, every now and then you see this viral video where a crowd of people kind of surrounds the cop, and they're like, back off, back off, back off. And you see this more, I think, in other countries. For example, the United States is a police state, and the people have been raised and conditioned in our disgusting education system to believe in the police state and to believe in the standing army that is the blue line, and that you have to do what you're told. If you go to a lot of other countries, I mean, America is pretty much at the top of the list for police executions on the road, incarceration, and police abuse. There are a few others that are close, but really we're far higher than most any third world country. What you'll see in countries that are poorer, right? And that are a bit more, I guess, a little less comfortable, right? I mean, America is conditioned to think they're free and wave the flag and say, go freedom, but they're slaves. And they're conditioned to think that slavery is actually freedom. And so that's a powerful thing for tyrants. In other countries where people are more self-reliant and self-sufficient, you know, even if you look like down to Mexico, right? If you've ever traveled to Mexico, you've probably realized that it's nothing like the fake American patriots say, where like all the Mexicans wish they were Americans because we got it so good. That's total BS. Americans in some way are better off, and in many ways are worse off. One thing you'll see in most other countries is they don't blindly worship the police. So for example, right, the video I did this week, and if you didn't see the video of me chasing the cop back to his hole, the road pirate back to his hole this week, you can go check it out on the channel, because I just posted it yesterday or the day before. And in this video, I wasn't mean to the guy, right? I mean, we're familiar with each other. I've had encounters with him before, and I just candidly like walked up and called him the thug that he was, and said, hey, why are you harassing people? And basically chased him off. If you were to be, let's say, and if you ask my brother Nathan, he's spent time in Mexico, and he kind of saw this firsthand. You see people treating cops kind of like, you know, like, get out of here. We don't need to be harassed by you, right? It's more of a normal mindset. So for me to do what I did to the cop the other day should be normal. If we did that, it changes the perception of how we see our liberties and our freedom. So the reason police are blindly obeyed, right? The reason police are considered heroes is because it's a propaganda that's pushed in society, and then people see that propaganda is being pushed, and so they repeat it, and they're afraid to speak out against the police. So the first step is not being afraid. The second step is to actually stop and speak out against them. And the third step is, when necessary, to step up and intervene. But I can tell you this, right? Have you ever watched a video of police murdering somebody and you thought, man, if I was there, I would do anything to stop that? Or you've wondered what you would do. The thing is, if people intervene, bullies run away. And so it's less about violence. It's a struggle to talk to people about the revolution of hearts and loving our neighbor, right? Because on the one hand, you say you have to stand up, you have to resist, you have to disobey. And so people are like, you're crazy on the one hand, and they're like, yeah, let's have a revolution on the other. Well, bloody revolutions very rarely lead to freedom and liberty and justice, guys. I mean, historically, that's very rare. So don't think, oh, let's get violent and get even and get vengeance. That's not a solution. On the other hand, and so it's hard because people want to do one or the other. And what you really need is that middle ground. You need defiance. You need resistance. You need a willingness to be angry about evil and abuse, but not to be vengeful and spiteful, right? If you deny the bad guy, if you deny the cop or the judge the due process that they denied you, you just become them and you become the new tyranny and nothing's changed. Typically, that's what happens. It's one thing to be angry about an injustice, and it's another thing to be driven by anger and vengeance. And you can't do that. And that's why you see me really emphasize, and really for myself, try to hold myself to a high standard of, I can be bold, I can call a cop out when I'm on the street, but not lose it, right? Let them be the angry ones that are losing it, not us. So when do you step in? Well, you step in all the time. If you take most of the police abuse situations, right? See, police, a lot of them are all hopped up on roids and drugs and stuff anyhow. And a side effect of steroids is kind of this on-off, right? Have you ever watched these cops and you're like, man, these guys are psychos, what's going on? Because they can be like nice, right? As long as people are nice and worshiping them, and they can be polite tyrants. And all of a sudden they're psycho tyrants that are murdering people for the dumbest things. I mean, they're truly psychotic. What happens? Well, one of the side effects of the drugs that police are on is that they tend to make you on or off. So they don't act like normal, rational human beings, right? If somebody was in the grocery store and they were acting weird with a knife, you're a human being, and probably your first reaction would not be to shoot them in the head. That's not a normal reaction. You would be like, whoa, this is weird. What's up, buddy? Like, what's going on? Back off. Just calm down, right? But a police reaction is oftentimes, oh, let's just kill them. And that's because they're mentally unstable. They're not peacemakers. They're not looking to bring peace and order. They're thugs. And combine that with that power tripping, combined oftentimes with drug-induced behavior, is what you see in American police a lot. What I'm getting at here, though, is look at, like, let's say Mexico. There's less incarceration and less police abuse in Mexico. Then you would think it'd be the opposite, because Americans are always strutting around saying, oh, like, we're so free and Mexico's got it bad, right? It's not really the case. It doesn't mean there's not police abuse in Mexico, okay? It doesn't mean that cops don't have steroids in Mexico or anything like that. It means that people understand that police aren't universally the good guys. People have more of a resistant, self-sufficient rebel mindset a lot of times in Mexico and a lot of other countries for that matter. The European countries tend to be the worst about worshiping authority, fake authority, that is. Where do we go with that? Okay? If you have... Hang on, I gotta take a breath. If you have a cop and he's abusing somebody and people stop their cars and they jump out of the car and they're like, dude, what are you doing? Like I did with the guy earlier this year, right? I stopped the car, I got out, and I always turn a camera on. So if an officer's abusing someone, the way I'm going to intervene is first by turning the camera on, but I'm not just going to turn the camera on and then watch the cop murder somebody, okay? But at the same time, you rarely will have to use force. Police are people of force. Peaceful people can be bold and runaway cops, right? They run away. They're dangerous. Don't underestimate that. But if you have the camera running and then you be bold and assert yourself, just like you would with a bully on the schoolyard, right? Have you ever stood up to a bully? I remember my first encounter with a bully. learning to deal with bullies was these kids that were chasing me around town and harassing me on my bike and bullying me when I was like, I don't know, I was probably 10 years old. And my dad talked to me about that, and he's like, you know, you gotta stand up and face your fears. And ultimately, the bullies were chasing me, and I kind of went back towards home, and then I turned on them, and I jumped off my bike, and I punched the bully in the nose. And it wasn't, I mean, we were 10, right? So it wasn't much of a fist fight. But that stand, it changed my perception, and it made me understand that you stand up for things. It's not about how much violence you use. It's not to say you should never defend yourself, or in particular that you should never defend someone else. But when you stand up to bullies, and that's all the police in America are, that's what the justice system in America is. They're terrorist, thug, blue syndicate, robber bullies, okay? They're pirate bullies. And even the good ones are still lawbreakers, and that's why you have to treat them as the robbers they are. Even the, quote, nice cop is still a crook. He's still a robber. That's what he does for a living, is he kidnaps people. He violates people's rights. He makes up and enforces fake laws. He extorts them illegally and writes illegal fines to steal money from them at the point of a gun. And so the police industry is thieves. When you step up, and you need to understand this, and I hope I'm conveying this because the world needs to understand this, when we simply stop and we're willing to turn a camera on and we say, you stop that, right? Imagine like your mom, and there's a police officer harassing a teenager, and your mom stops, and she gets out of the car, and she's got her camera running on her phone, and she says, you stop that, sir. You stop abusing. What is wrong with you? You go home. Your mama should wash your mouth out with soap, right? Imagine if your mom did that to a cop, right? Instead of being conditioned to be slaves, imagine if people intervened, not with violence, because it would rarely be needed. And so you guys can do this. People often say on my videos, oh, thanks for what you could do. I could never do it. Yes, you can. We can all do it, and we need to. I can't fix it. We're trying to change the mindset. It's okay to stand up to a bully. Yes, bullies can be dangerous, but it's okay to call them out. It's okay to see a police officer pulling someone over in front of your house and walk out in front of your house and say, stop harassing people. Get out of my neighborhood. I don't want you in here harassing and robbing people. Stop pretending that the people who are abusing you and violating people's rights 100% of the time are good guys because occasionally they do good things or they stop bad people. Start standing up to bullies, and then you become the peacemaker. You become, people say, well, what would we do if there was no law enforcement? And I'm like, we don't have law enforcement. The blue line isn't law enforcement. The blue line are thieves and robbers and thugs and murderers and kidnappers. And just because sometimes they intervene in crimes, if they were enforcing the law, they would be stopping their fellow cops and their judges and their prosecutors and all the fake crimes, and they wouldn't be robbing people. They are not law enforcement. So stop treating them like it. Does it mean you don't ever comply when they have a gun to your head? No, you can't fight everything because they will kill you. What I'm saying is you stand up to bullies, and you can do it. And I talk in other videos about how you start out. You can start out filming from your car. You can start out stopping. Take the time to stop the next time you see a cop with someone pulled over, and pull up and sit and just holler out your window and say, stop harassing people, you road pirate. You don't have to be unprincipled. You don't have to be hateful. Love the cop enough to tell them that they're not a good person, that they are a criminal. Stop letting them believe they're heroes. And if you see them physically abusing someone, like, yeah, stop with your friends. You probably won't have to do any of this, right? Try not to touch the cops, because they are psychos and they will kill and arrest and make up charges. Always have the camera running, because then it's harder for them to make things up, right? Always correct the narrative. They say stop interfering, and you're like, I'm not interfering with anything. I'm trying to make sure you don't murder someone, right? Take that narrative. We gotta find our bravery, America. It's not about Gavin going out and doing activism. I can't fix it. I won't last long enough. Me and a few other activists, we can't make you free. You've got to think free. We've all got to start thinking free. We've got to teach our children to think free. Get them out of public schools that are designed to indoctrinate. Get them away from a societal mindset that says the people who abuse you are the heroes. We've got to get out of this mindset of thinking that our masters are our deliverers. The Stockholm syndrome, all right? But that starts here. Starts in our hearts. You know, if you're a believer like me, I put my faith in God. That's who I answer to, but I try to get my courage, you know, from Jesus. And so you do what's right. As long as you don't violate the rights of another, be the forest. Find 2 or 3 others and make a tree and be a forest and be that underground that stands up and is willing to stop and just pull over. And people say, it's weird because... yes, in America, it's scary. People act like it's a really bold thing to simply stop and tell a police officer to quit harassing people. It shouldn't be. We have to make that normal before we can be free. All right, I'm really tired, guys, so I'm going to go. Just keep fighting, right? Whatever happens to the country, whatever happens to me, just remember that we have to be principled. We have to look to de-escalate. We have to look to bring peace. And don't think that using violence gives you more power, right? People have a right to defend themselves and others, but generally avoiding violence is what actually gives you power. And that's why the police are so freaking scared of it. So you guys, I'm going to roll. I see you in there. So shout out to all you guys. I've been watching your comments go by, and I'm not going to do a Q&A tonight because I'm just not feeling very good. Thanks for watching. Spread the word. Like, subscribe, share. You know the drill. But most of all, stand up in your community. Start making videos. Start learning to fight the good fight. If we all be a little brave and find our courage, we can change the world. Thanks, Abstract. Thanks, guys. And just love your neighbor. All right? Bye-bye.